Yeah, good morning once again and welcome to this class. Today we are still looking at JavaScript, but we'll be looking at another concept in JavaScript, which is DOM manipulation. What is DOM manipulation? DOM manipulation is how you can use JavaScript to manipulate elements on your front end, whereby you can use it to listen for click events, change text on your front end, change text on your front end, and also change any kind of, if you want to change anything on your front end, your colors, your font size, anything you can think of, animations. You basically be using JavaScript for that. Like I made mention of your the hamburger menu you guys did in your last tax, in the flexible living assignment tax. If you want to make the hamburger menu clickable, so you can see the content inside the hamburger menu, you have to make use of JavaScript. So that's what JavaScript does. As I made mention in the last previously, that all everything about JavaScript is functionalities. If you want to add any kind of functionalities to your website, you have to use JavaScript. Though there are some you can use CSS for, but it's just minimal. When you want to do high level functionalities, click of events, submission of forms, everything are done with JavaScript. So, do you kind of have a brief understanding of what DOM manipulation is? I need your response. So, before we go into practical sections, that's just a brief overview of what DOM manipulation is. So, in today's class, we'll be building a game. It's called Guess My Number, which would enable us understand what is DOM manipulation. But before then, let's have a brief overview of what DOM manipulation is. As we have right here, we have our basic HTML structure, and we also have our CSS, and we also have our CSS file, which is what we'll be using also. So we don't have any business with the HTML and CSS. What we originally have plans with is our JavaScript. How we are going to manipulate our elements and see the results on our browser. So one of the things we are going to do this morning is, let's check for a click event. This is what we have right here. This is our game. It's just it's just a normal static game which does not have any functionalities. But with JavaScript, we'll be able to click this button, this check button, to check if our guess is right or wrong. So let's open our console. So before we go into that, let's open our console to see some of the things we'll be working with. Okay, the first thing we'll be doing is um checking for a click event. So let's see how you select elements in JavaScript. So this class name, the class name that you have right here, or this class name you have right here, you are going to be using them in JavaScript because that's what you are going to be using to target the elements. Those are what you'll be using to target the elements, which is same as you using it in your CSS to target the element to style it. So now we want to style it, we want to add functionalities to it. And what do we use to add functionalities to it? We use class or ID. So a how do you add functionalities? Oh, how do you add function how do you add functionalities to how do you select elements in JavaScript? You use something called query selector, which is this. You just do document dot query. You can document dot query selector. So it's q query selector, and the same way we make use of dot for class, which is what is the element we are trying to check, this check button. We're trying to click on it. So what do? We do document the query selector class. The class name of the button is check. So once we do this, We now add an event listener to it. Add event listener. What is this event listener? Event listener is what you are going to, okay, what kind of event are you performing on your button? Is it a key press? There are different kind of event listener. There's key press, there's key down, there's mouse over, there is click, there is over, and there are so many kinds of event listener. So let's check. You can see we have one here. We have full screen change, full screen error. We have mouse down. But the major one we'll be using today, there are so many, so I can't keep alight I can't start alighting them one after the other because they do different functionalities. So at this point, the first one we'll be looking at, the major one which which we are going to be using here, is a click event. So you just, what is the type of function? It's a click. So you are telling your JavaScript function that yes, this is a click event. This is a click event. So the next thing we just have to do is we write a function to tell our browser what we want to do. Function, as you all know, we talked about function in the last class, and we pass this into it. We pass a parameter. We don't need a parameter into it. Then after we have passed our function, what do we want to? We just do console. Let's console.log it. Console.log button click. So let's check. Let's check what we have. If our button, Damila, go ahead. What's your question?
I don't know. Like, sorry, I don't know. Probably you are too fast.
Oh, we are in JavaScript. Okay, I'm too fast. All right, I'll take it slowly. But we are racing against time, so I don't just slow down a bit, and all right, no problem. I'll take it slowly. So what?
Thank you, sir.
All right. So what we did right here is we are trying to select our button element to perform an action, which is what we did right here. So now we did console.log click button click. So once we click our button, it should react to that event listener that, okay, yes, this button was clicked. So let's try it out if our code is actually going to work. Hilary, you are not lost. You just have to make research. There's no need for you to be lost. You just have to make research, and JavaScript looks abstract. I have made mention of it previously, times before now, that JavaScript looks kind of abstract. But it's not like CSS that you're implementing, you're writing some function, you're writing your styles and you're seeing it immediately. For JavaScript, you might write like 20 lines of code just to perform one action, which is just it. So for now, what we are just doing here is just selecting a button, which is what we did in our code. We did, how do you select an element in JavaScript? You use query selector. What is query selector? Your um your document is the HTML, and for you to be able to select something in your HTML, you have to use your query selector, which is, this check is the class name we gave to our button, which is check. And I also made mention that for you to be able to do anything in JavaScript, the same way you have a class name in Java, in your CSS, which you are using to style that component, is the same way you would also need the class name or the ID in your CSS, sorry, in your JavaScript, to also add functionalities, which is what I did right here. I did a document.query selector and I targeted the button element and I added an event listener. What's an event listener? An event listener is a function which you want to add to your button, which could be, okay, you want to have a mouse press. That means, okay, you're hovering on your mouse. You want you want some action. If you're let me use what's the name? If you're scrolling on some website, you see that when you're trying to scroll, when you're moving your mouse over some elements, you will see that the cursor is giving you some kind of drag animation. Those animations are done with JavaScript, in the sense that that animation is the event listener that is done on that mouse over is an animation. So you just have to check the kind of animation you're going to use. I'm not going into animation in this class, so I'm not going to talk about that. So what we just did here is we want to target the button element. We want to click on it, and we did add event listener. What is the function? What is the kind of event we want to add on it? Is a click, and we add a function to it. So that is the simple thing we just wrote right here. And let's check. We are trying to practice. We are trying to see the result on the browser. We are trying to see the result in the browser to see if it's going to work or not, if our function is called properly. So let's click on it. So you can see our function is working. Our event listener is working. So that is what an event listener does. You just keep clicking. Once you click on it, that means you have added functionalities to our browser. So instead of check, which you are seeing, instead of the animation we are seeing, instead of the console.log we are seeing in our console, most of the time you can actually change you can actually do it on your browser. So let's do something now. Let's also do something. You can see this start guessing now. This start guessing. We want to change the text dynamically. So how do we change the text of that element? This is how we do it. There's something called text content in JavaScript, which is we do same way document. We are going to select the document the query selector, and what is the class name for that start guessing is message. Same way dot message, message. And what's the next thing we want to do? You want to read the text content. Dot, there's something called text content in JavaScript. You can see text content is to overwrite elements on your browser. Is used to overwrite elements on your browser. Okay, you have someone's name here. You want to rewrite it using DOM element. You just do text content, which is okay. Text content equals, and it's going to be a string. We have start guessing. Let's write my name. My name is Femi, please. So let's check our browser. We'll see that our text, you can see right here, I changed the text of what we have right here, right from JavaScript, which is what JavaScript does. We have actually overwritten what we have in our HTML with JavaScript. And even if we refresh the page, what we did in our JavaScript is still going to stand. What we did in our JavaScript is still going to stand. So do we understand, or you are still confused? Paul, do you have a question? Are you
yes, sir. Please, I have a question. Just a little question, please. Okay. From your explanation, you said when we do document query selector, the next thing that comes is the class or the ID of the element we are targeting, right?
Yes.
Then the next, like this add event listener, it's like you are adding a duty to the class, to the class that you call. You're adding a function, a duty to it. That's what the add event listener or the text content stand for, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. So that is how Maria, where are you confused? Let me take it. I think I've rushed it, so let me take it bit by bit now. So Maria, where did you get confused, so we can actually explain? I can actually go over it again. So what I did, Samson, go ahead. Your hand is raised, Samson.
Yes, good morning, sir. Yes,
Yeah, good morning.
yes, sir. I just want to ask for the first action you executed. you use add event listener for this test content. Is there no need for us to use add event listener? Okay, that is just my question.
Okay.
And why? Yeah.
When you want to add an event listener, that means you are performing an action. You are performing an action. What are kind of action? Is like, that's when I made mention of button click. That means you are clicking a button. There is mouse over. There is key press. There is key down. There are so many kind of event listeners. But for you to be able to overwrite a text, that is not an event. You are just manipulating something. You are just changing a text from one to another. That means you are not performing any button click or anything. What you just need to use is a text content. That is what is used in JavaScript to overwrite a text from your HTML content. You use text content to overwrite a message from your JavaScript, which is what we did right here. Let me simulate my JavaScript and my HTML together on my screen so you can see it. So now you can see here that in my HTML on line 24, I have a message of start guessing now. And in my JavaScript, I want to overwrite that message with my name. Sometimes this is not supposed to go on. This is probably supposed to happen when a button is clicked. So let's move this into our button element so we don't just overwrite it like that. So let's move this into our JavaScript function, that when that button is clicked, that should happen. So now, let's check it out. So you can see that our start guessing it has gone back to the normal state it is from which we did in our HTML content. But by the time we click this button, you will see that it's going to change from start guessing to my name is Femi Blaze. So you can see on click of that button, we wanted this action to happen. So what did we do? We wrap this. We have a function that, okay, everything that we want to happen on our page, it has to happen after that button is being clicked. So what did we do? When that button was clicked, we did what? We changed the name of the content inside the message class. Samson, do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you
So
very much.
I just brought out that the text content outside so that one would happen outside the click event. But now that I've put it inside the click event, it's once you click that button that function is going to run. That means the function is actually going to run to change the text we have to manipulate the text. Let me use the word to manipulate the text from start guessing to my name is Femi Bliss. Michael Oladele, your hand is raised.
So please, can you use Alt Z for your code so we can see it?
Okay, all right. Okay, so this is it.
Yeah, thank you.
So can you see it clearly now? Do you have any question?
Yeah, I can see it now. Thanks.
All right. So Maria, you said everything is still confusing. Where in particular? Maria, can you unmute and speak? This is still fresh before we go into the game where we'll be doing some kind of DOM manipulation. It's still the same DOM manipulation we'll be doing in the game, but I want you to understand the concept of DOM manipulation before I go right into it.
All right, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
I'm sorry, I joined the class here, so that's why I said it's kind of confusing. So, sir, can you please start from the beginning, sir? Though I'll get what you explained to something. So, can you just re-explain it?
Okay.
All right,
Adelaja,
thank
what's
you,
your
sir.
question?
Yes, sir.
Adelaja,
It's also the same. I was 10 minutes late. So I just want the reason why I'm right now is because of this function that has two brackets in front of it. So
all
I
right.
just want
I would go over it again. Now. So
thank you, sir.
I said that what are we looking at today in today's class? We are looking at DOM manipulation. What is DOM manipulation? DOM manipulation is you manipulating, you changing elements on your HTML from your JavaScript without you touching your HTML document, which is what I have done. So most times when you want to perform some functions, you don't necessarily have to start going back to your HTML to overwrite those elements. What you just have to do is come to your JavaScript and you manipulate it from there. That is the power your JavaScript gives you, to be able to manipulate elements from one end to another, to be able to change your font size. We can also change the font size. We can also change the font style. Anything you can think of, you want to manipulate it. You want to change. Okay, now let's change let's change the color. Let's change our background color. On click of the button also, let's also change our background color to see that JavaScript does any kind of manipulation. And I also made mention that some animations which you see on your browser, most of them are done with JavaScript. Yes, I'm not disputing the fact that you can actually do some manipulation, you can actually do some animation with CSS, but you are going to be constrained. You are just going to have some. You are just going to be. You can't do some very kind of. You can't do some certain animation without JavaScript, though you are still going to use CSS. So now let's change the background color. Let's change the background color of our element using JavaScript. So same way we do it, we'll have document.query selector, and the same way we have a class name. Which one should we change? Let's change the body of our element. Let's change the background color of our body. So we have body. What do we need to do? We now do dot style dot background color. You can see when I did dot style, every kind of style that we can add to our element is coming up. Any style you can think of, any style you can add in JavaScript, in CSS, you can always manipulate that style in your CSS. So you can see let's change the background color. Background color equals, let's do red. So it has to be a string. So let's change it to red. So on click of that button, our background color changed to red. So what do we have right now? You can see at the click of that button, everything happens. So that is what JavaScript does. When you click a button, anything you do in your JavaScript, you are using it to overwrite your elements in HTML. So we have overwritten our HTML content, and we have also overwritten our CSS content. So do you understand what JavaScript do manipulation now? Do you understand DOM manipulation now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
yeah. All right. So I will also introduce you to something in JavaScript, which is how to generate random number, because I do. Can we go into the game so that we can understand? Is there any point you are still confused? So we can start building the game so that you can use to understand JavaScript properly. Paul, go ahead.
Oh, okay, sir. Please, can you go back to the codes, please?
Okay. Yeah, this is it.
Okay. I thought, when you say you're writing a string. Okay. After you do the style background color, you are the one to put the name, the type of color that you want to appear
Yes.
on the background, right?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. What if we are using hexadecimal colors? Like you don't want to type it red. You want to put F1, A1. Like how are you going to manipulate that? Because this one you just write red. So it's like normal color. So if I want to put
I just use the hexadecimal column. I use 60B3.
okay, thank you
Let's
very
check it
much.
out. So you can see when I use that,
Oh,
it's still the same thing. Just
oh yeah,
whatsoever
leave long,
you want
sir.
to
Leave long,
write,
sir.
whatsoever you want to write, just put it in a string, even if it's RGBA, even if it's the RGBA color code, something like this. You just do RGBA. I can't remember. 25. You can see it's giving me an option already. 252525. So let's. So you can see it's white. So once you click our background, once you click on this, everything changes to white. So that is, no matter the kind of color you want to write, it's not compulsory you write it red, green. If you know the hexadecimal color, you can actually go ahead with it. Yeah. So Paul, do you understand?
Very well, sir. Thank you. God bless.
Yeah. Adelaja, go ahead.
So I'm very sorry. This is the last one. Please go back to your board.
Okay.
Yes, I saw that while targeting JavaScript file, you didn't put it in the head elements. You put it after the header element. Why is it like that? That's what
I don't understand. I don't
This
understand your
script,
question.
I mean, when you're targeting as far when you're linking your JavaScript file to your
At the
HTML,
bottom, were you in the first class?
yeah,
Were you in the first class?
yes, I'm in first class. I'm in the first
You were in
class.
the
I
first
think
class,
I heard that.
and you heard me when I explained it.
No, I didn't hear that part. I'm sorry. Okay, maybe you just carry
I've,
on.
I've, I've
First,
explained
understand what it
I've
says.
explained the ways you can actually put JavaScript probably at the bottom, at the top, or why you put JavaScript at the bottom. And let me just explain it again. I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to redirect you back to YouTube video to go and watch it because you were in the class and you didn't hear when I explained. But I'm just going to do that for the sake of others who are not in the class. I made mention that the reason why most people put JavaScript file at the bottom of their page is because most times you are going to be getting data from external sources. That's when you make API calls, and you don't want a scenario whereby you put your JavaScript at the head of your HTML and your content is yet to arrive, and at a particular place in your HTML code where you need the content from that API, the content from that external website, and the network is delaying, your page is not going to load. It's just going to be static at that point until that information comes, and your users will be like, what's going on? I'm not seeing any content. What if that message, the from the external website, it takes over 1 hour to arrive? What are you going to do? So that is why most times every developers just use a conventional practice that, okay, you put your JavaScript at the bottom of your website, at the bottom of your HTML page, whereby all your HTML content will have loaded up already, and then it now goes to the JavaScript because your HTML is being loaded synchronously. That means it is read line by line, and every line of action in your HTML are executed one after the other. If line 12, if there's an error in line 12, line 13, 14, 15, and 16 are not going to run. It's just going to terminate the application straight up. And I now made mention of it in the last class that when you now put your script tag at the edge section of your HTML, once you do this, you add a keyword, a defer keyword. You add a defer keyword. What this defer keyword means is that it tells your application that, don't worry, keep loading this JavaScript file in the background while my HTML elements are loaded up completely. So by the time every content on the HTML page has been loaded up, and there is a delay from the JavaScript, it's not going to cause any problem for your website. Do you understand now, Adelaja? Adelaja? Adelaja, do you understand?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
I
Damlola,
understood.
your hand is raised.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful.
Damlola, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
So
Damlola.
let me drop it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
I want to ask you, like the style, the document.query selector body, then that dot style, is it like, how does it work? Because when you press that dot style, it was bringing different options. Is it because you
Yes.
targeted the body and the style, or?
Okay. Now, what action do we want to perform? We want to change the style, and we are telling JavaScript from our code that okay, is the style we want to target. So what do we have to do? We do style. We have to put the style, even if it's the message. Let's do it for the message. Dot message. Dot message. For the message, what do we have? Let's change the font weight. Let's change the font size rather. Dot font size equals 50 rem. So let's check it out. So on click of this button, you can see my name is Femi Blaze became 50 pixel. So
Yes.
any style, if you want to change any style on your JavaScript, you have to add the style function in front of it so that it knows that it is the style you want to manipulate. Damlela, do you understand?
Very well. Thank you so much.
All right. Hilary, there is no need to be checking CSS in this class because we are not working with CSS. I just gave you a boilerplate for the CSS. So this is the CSS. This is the CSS lines of code. So I can't start writing. We are focusing on JavaScript. I can't start writing CSS in this class. So I just brought a boilerplate to the class. So we are going to be focusing on the JavaScript aspect of it. Hilary, do you get? You have seen my JavaScript, my CSS code now. So what do we have to do with it? Hilary. All right. So Hilary does.
Hello, sir. I actually don't have anything to say. I just wanted to, because I'm trying to understand how that stuff was, the interface was created. So I just wanted to see it. I
Okay.
was thinking it was a framework.
I didn't use the framework. Okay. All right. That's fine. Yeah. So now let's start the application. So from this our application, we can see that there are some things that are going to be static, and there are some things that are going to change. So now, from here now, you can see something that we have a score which is 20. So that's not going to be our focus now. So how do we have to get? Who can tell me how you get random numbers in JavaScript? Does anyone know? Does anyone know how we get random number in JavaScript? I know I've not made mention of it, but it's something you should have researched on. Does anyone know how
Math.random.
math.random?
It's round.
If we use math.random, what is going to give us numbers between 0 and 1 with decimal places. So let's try that out. So this is it. So we are done. Let's just comment this out. So let's start our game. So the first thing we have to do is we have to create a random number. So const let's call it that's our secret number, right? Yes. So let's call it no number equals math.random. So let's see. Let's console.log number and see what we have here. Number. So let's check it out. We would see that we have, it's just going to give us a random number between. You don't need to create a function. There's already a function. JavaScript has a function that gives you random numbers. which is just use math.random, and it gives you random numbers between 1 and 0. Between 1 and 0. So it gives, once you keep refreshing, it gives you random number. So how then do you now round it up? There's something called math.trunc in JavaScript. It's used to round up number to the nearest whole number. So math.trunc, you can see we do this math.trunc, and yes, it gives us random number between 1 and 0. So you see it gives us 0, we refresh it again, it gives us 1, refresh it again, it gives us instead of refreshing, let me put everything inside let's put inside our onClick function. So we know that we have created our onClick function already. So let's do this. Document dot query selector. Let me just copy this so I don't have to. You have to learn how to always copy and paste code. So you have to be fast. So you are going to be fast. So most of these things I will just explain and I will just copy and paste right away. So let me do this. So let's put this right here. We'll see that it's going to give us random numbers between 1 and 0, and we need, and our game says that you should, our game says that, you can see it's giving us 0, giving us 0, giving us 0, and our game, what our game says is that you we need it says between get a number between 1 and 0. How then do you now do that? You now do a multiplication times 20, then you add a +1 to it. So this alone is now going to give you random numbers between 1 and 20. So let's check it out. So we have 16 now. The next one we have 1. The next one we have 6. So that is how you generate random numbers in JavaScript. And you have to round it up to the nearest whole number, so you don't have decimal places, because our game does not need decimal numbers. Do you understand how to get random numbers in JavaScript? Hello guys. Did I pass the knowledge?
Sir.
Okay.
You
Paul.
did,
No, sir, but you're too fast.
yes.
I'm fast. All right. I said that, okay, now our application needs a random number. And what is that random number? What is a random number? A random number is, if you use math.random, it gives you any number between 1 and 0. Let's do this. So between 1 and 0, it gives you any number between 1 and 0. So let's check this out. Let's click on this. It gives us 1. It gives us 1. It gives us 1. It's just a random number between 1 and 0. So when we now need for our game, it says we should pick any random number between 1 and 20. So we have to multiply it. We have to multiply it by 20 so that we can have random numbers between 1 and 20. So once math.trunc is now going to round up, if it's a decimal place, math.random is going to give us 0.5 something something something, 0.7. So it's going to give us random numbers in that aspect. But for us to now get a whole number, there's also a function in JavaScript called math.trunc, which is going to round up that number to the nearest whole number. There's also something called math.floor, but the one we'll be using here is math.trunc to give us the nearest whole number. So with that, everything, once we click this button, it gives us random numbers between 1 and 20. So you can see we have 1, we have 15, we have 19. So we keep clicking, and it's just like us rolling a dice. By the time you roll a dice, is either you have 1 and 2. You're not the one determining the number of the dice. It's once you roll it that it gives you random numbers. So do you understand how you get random numbers in JavaScript?
Yes, sir.
All right, Shegun, go ahead. Your hand is raised.
So I just want to ask, what is the difference between the math
Your you are echoing. You are echoing. I
Oh,
can't hear you clearly.
sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I want to ask what's the difference between this math and math.flow?
Yeah, math.floor actually gives you the nearest whole number also, but math.floor actually gives you the nearest whole number also. They actually do the same work, but I think people just prefer math.trunk actually. They actually do the same thing, so let's try it out. I can't remember what the difference between them, but let's try it out. Math.floor. So let's see. Let's click on it. They practically do the same thing. Math.floor and math.trunk. They actually do the same thing actually. So people just prefer math.trunk. It's just based on personal preference. You can actually use. I know there's a slight difference, just one simple difference, but most people just use. I use math.trunk most of the time. So it's based on personal preference because I think when I started using it, I I read about both of them and I saw just one a differences, and yeah, my instinct just went to math.trunk automatically. So it's just it's just that you can use either math.floor or math.trunk. Either one works. So Shegun, do you understand?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Yeah, so now let's continue. So, but this our secret number can't be inside our function. It has to be this. I think JavaScript only gives you positive number. It doesn't give you negative number, except you specifically define that you want a negative number actually. So it's actually going to give you. It's actually if it's a random number, it's actually going to give you a positive number actually. Except you define a number and you're doing some arithmetic operation that goes back to minus something. So JavaScript automatically gives you a positive number. Yeah, so let's continue. So this our secret number is actually going to be outside our code. It's outside actually going to be here. So the first thing we want to do is now we have our random number, and the next thing we have to create here is on click of this button we have to check if our random number if our guess is equals to this random number. So the first thing we have to first do right here is on click of the button, if there is no guess, what do? We just have to return our application, and we have to do something like this. Const document dot query selector. So we have to target what's going on. What's going on? Oh, sorry, I didn't guess because dot query selector. Afolabi, hand is raised. Go ahead while I type this. Dot guess. So
Okay. So I was going to ask about this math.trunk. So you said it's just for us to get a whole number. So from
yeah,
the game, we were told to get a number between 1 to 20.
yeah, it's
So now I
between.
want to know why you're adding +1 at the end of the
It's going to
code.
give you zero. We don't want zero in our application. We don't want zero. So when it gives you a random number, once it gives you a random number between, it has to add one to it. So let's remove the +1 and check. Oh, I've removed it from our code. So let's return it back here. Let's return it back here and see. Console.log number. So it's going to give you zero. So you can see 5. Why did I add a +1? It's to give us different number actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so it works.
So we might not necessarily put
It
plus
might not
one.
necessarily
Okay,
be
so
plus one.
what if the numbers range between 1 to 100? Do you still have to put plus one?
No, you just have to multiply it. You just have to multiply it. So what we did
You
here is we
multiply by 100.
yeah, you just have to multiply by 100. So
Okay.
it will give you a random number between 1 to 100. So let's check this. You can see it gives you random number between 1 to 100. We have 75. We have 90. We have oh, I know the reason why I added plus one. So you know it's a random number, and if it gives us zero, we don't want zero in our application. So if it throws zero, it just add a plus one to it. So
Okay.
instead of zero, it gives us one. So we don't throw any no, we don't throw zero at all. I don't know if we are going to get a zero. We are supposed to get a zero because it's a random number.
Okay.
So you
I
can
think
see
I've found it.
yeah. So instead of the plus one, instead of giving us zero, it
Yeah.
will give us one. That's why I added a plus one here. So we don't want one. We don't want zero when we are searching for secret numbers actually. So
All right. Thank you.
yeah. So Akman, go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Good morning.
I just want to add, I think I know the reason you added plus one.
Yeah.
Is because we in programming they count from 0 to this thing. So if you don't include the one, it will only stop at 99.
Yeah. That's what I just explained. That and also if it gives you zero, if it gives you zero, you don't want zero in your application. You just want one. So you just add one to the zero. That's just it. I explained that shortly. Thank you. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you very much. Yeah. So let's continue. Yeah. So let's move this our guess number out of our application again. So this is outside our application. So we now have a guess. So guess, that's the value of the guess. So we are trying to get our value of this guess. So now let's console log guess. So let's console log guess. So if you want to read the value of an input field, you use dot value in your element. So let's do this. If we do console.log guess and we put 5 here and we click, you can see 5 appears in our console. That means the value of our element, value of what we have in our input field, which is what we are going to use to check against our random number. So let's continue. So the first thing we did here is okay, we have a guess, and now we have some users, they may not enter any value into our guess and they just click the guess button, but we just want them to say, we don't want that to happen. So we have to do something first of all. This is the first if statement. This also helps you understand if statement properly, not a guess. So you just do if not a guess, that means there is no number. That means there is no number in our guess. That means the guess value is undefined or is zero. We just have to do this. Document dot query selector. What we are targeting here is the message dot message, and we return this dot text content. We have no number was imputed. So let's try this out without us putting a guess here. It's not a function.
I thought it's equal to that I used to put in that text content.
Yeah, sorry, I'm supposed to put an equals to there. I didn't put an equals to. Sorry, I'm supposed to put. Thank you for that. I'm supposed to put an equals to there. That's why we had that. That's why we had that error. So you can see it's telling us here that no. So now we have checked that if this input field is empty, what is it supposed to do? It should just return this number that no number was imputed. That is, we have done our first check for our game. So now, if our users does not input any number here, so if they input a number 2 and they check, this is supposed to change. So we are going to write that function again. We are going to have an else if statement. So Damlola, go ahead.
No, I spoke the other time. So
All right, so let's continue. So we have done our first function in our application, which is if there is no guess, it should tell our users that no number was imputed. That means if our users mistakenly just input, just click the button without, if our users just mistakenly click the button without inputting any number. So now the first thing we now have to check is else if our guess equal sorry, who can remind me what I said about this strict equality and the likes? Who can try
I
to
think you
explain?
I think you said it cannot be changed. It's like it can't be manipulated or stuff. That was what you were saying.
It check for string or number. It work with string
Yeah,
or number.
it checks for string or number. That is what it does. It doesn't strict equality does not do type coercion nor type conversion. If you put in a string instead of a number and you use a triple equal to, it's going to throw an error. Paul, go and check the last video and see how we did it. So if guess is equals secret number. So now let's do this. Let's check. What do we want to do? What do we want to tell our users? We want to tell our users that their guess is correct. That's document dot query selector dot message text content. That's okay. Your guess was correct. You guessed the correct number. So now we don't know. Let's try this out. Let's console.log our secret number here. Console.log our number to see if this line of code, these are else if statement, if it works. So what our secret number there is 13. So let's enter 13 right here. So why is it not working? Equals. Why is it not working? Who can tell us why it's not working? Can anyone tell us why it's not working?
It couldn't be that because the console.log is up there.
Hey, your background is noisy. That's not the reason. Text content. Why is this not working? Guess. Oh. Oh. Who can tell us why? Who can tell us? I've seen the reason why. Ezekiel, go ahead. I know the reason why. So Ezekiel, go ahead and tell us why.
You didn't target the numbers. It's supposed to be like document dot get the numbers.
No, I'm doing a guess. This our guess right here. Guess equals number. So the reason why this is not working is because our number is actually a string. Our guess is actually a string. So let's console.log our guess here. Console.log guess. So let's check it out. You can see. Okay, let's input a number here. 4. You can see our guess is actually a string, and our number is actually a number. So you're trying to compare a string and a number together, which is not going to work. So what do we have to do? We have to convert our guess from a string to a number. So how do you convert a string to a number in JavaScript? You use something called number, just put number in front of it and wrap it in parentheses. And once you do this, you are good to go. Once you do this, you are good to go. It converts it into a number. So let's check what we have. So you can see 11, and let's put 11 here also. So you can see the reason why it didn't work previously was because we are trying to, that was where this strict equality came in. We are trying to check a string and a number if they are together. Our number, our secret number here, this number, this number here, this number on line 6 is actually a number, and our guess is a string. So we are trying to compare a string and a number together, which can't work. So that is why that issue came up. So do you understand it now? Do you understand why it didn't work the other time, or why it worked now? Or should I go over it again?
I'll go over it again.
Okay.
Because I don't understand how it is string actually.
Okay. Normally, your input field in JavaScript is a string. You can see our input field here now. You can see our document.get is a string. Normally is a number to you. You enter the number, but for your JavaScript application, it's a string. Like it has a quotation. Let's do something like, let's do this. Let's do a Control Z, and let's do something of type of. So let's see. Is for you to check the type of element you are entering. So let's do a 5. So you can see our number which we are entering into this box is actually a string and not a number, simply because if you are inputting an element into JavaScript, it reads it as a string. Everything that goes into JavaScript is a string. It is now we users, it's now we programmers that convert it. If it's a number, we convert it to a number. That is what I just did with that number that I wrapped around our guess, which is what I did. Yeah, I just did this. I did number, and I did this. So let's save it. And if we go back here again, you will see that it is now a number. If we do 5, you now see that it's now a number. So, but if Paul, go ahead.
Okay, sir. In that our else if statement, you said you're using guess equals number, which means that I don't know, you explained that you are converting it to because it's a string. So that's why you.
Wait, Paul, you are getting. It's not at this if else statement here. I am converting it to a number. It is at this point of our guess on line 10.
Yes, what I'm trying to say is that I think we should convert it. We have to convert it before we put it in our if.
Yes, we have
Else
to
if.
convert it before we put it in our if else statement, which is what I didn't do before. Why it didn't work. So now that I converted it into a number, if we enter the right number, here, it's giving us 12. So let's input 12. You would see that our message changed. So you guess the right number. So that is it. Do you understand now, Paul?
Yes, I get now. I get.
So is anyone confused? I don't want. This is kind of, we are already moving into deep JavaScript, like DOM manipulation. It's something you would do over time. So is there anyone confused, or you are not clear? Let me go over it before I proceed to the next line. Afolabi, go ahead.
Sir, please, can you go back to the code?
Okay. So this is it.
Okay, now, so if I'm writing this function now, before I even go further in asking if it is correct or not, so I need to just input that number, the word number.
Yes. You have to convert your guess from a string to a number. Like I showed you. Like if you don't have this, without this number around it, and we check
Yeah.
the type of. There is
Giving
something
us
in JavaScript called type of. It's giving us a string.
string. Yeah.
Let's check. Let me add 4. You see that it's giving us a string. And if you are trying to, you can't compare a string and an element together. It's not going to give you. It's going to be false. But if we do this, let's check. Let's do this. If we do a loose equality, let's do something like this, and let's see what it gives us. We have 9 and we have 9 here. You can see we have 9 the string and 9 and a number. What did it do behind the scene? That Toulouse equality, it did something that is called type conversion. That means it converted this our number to a string. It converted this our string in this input box to a number behind the scene, so that the application can work properly. But with the strict equality, it's not going to convert a string to a number behind the scene for us. We have to convert it ourselves.
Okay. Writing the word number.
Number, yes, that is how you convert a string to a number.
Okay,
That's
sorry. If you are writing that number, must the first letter be a uppercase or lowercase? Does it really matter?
Yeah, it matters. It matters actually. Those are JavaScript reserved keyword. We are not the one writing it. It's inbuilt from JavaScript, so we have to put it in capital letter. It's actually a function. Number is a function in JavaScript. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an inbuilt function in JavaScript. So let's move forward. Is everyone clear? No, Norris, can you unmute and speak? So, okay, you understand now clearly. All right. Samson, what's your question?
Sorry, sir. I just want to ask that why do we then use strict equality when the other equality can convert a string to number, or it can actually convert?
Okay, now so let's now do something. So let's do number. Let's do const addition. Let's do add. Let's do add, and let's now equals number plus guess. Number plus guess. So you can see we have 13 here. And we now do 13 plus 13. What is 13 plus 13 supposed to give us?
26.
Samson.
26.
Let's see what it's going to give us in our console. Why are we? Oh, we are not console logging number yet. So let's console log add. So let's check it. So you can see we have 6. 6 plus 6 is supposed to give us 12. So you see, it's giving us 66. Is that the right? Is that the right calculation?
No.
No.
What he just did was he just brought the string and the number together and put them together. That means you can't add a string and a number together without converting them. So do you understand now, Samson?
Very well now. Thank you, sir.
So by the time we convert it here to a number, we do this number and we wrap it around here and we save it. And we come back to this place and we do 15 plus 15. That should give us 30. It's giving us 30 instead of if you have not converted it to a number, it will give us 1515 as the addition of both numbers. So now, do you now understand the process why we have to use the strict equality for it?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. So now we have done. Damlala, your hand was raised. Do you have a question?
So using that strict equality, it will not give us that. You just write string back.
If we are so here now we are not using a type of, but if we are now using a strict equality here,
Yeah.
on line 16,
Yes.
it's going to check if the guess we are providing, if it's a number, as against the number we have from line 6. Are both of them number? Are they of the same data type? If they are both of the same data type, it's going to add both of them together. And if they are not of the same data type, that means our guess
Okay,
is a
guys.
string. Our guess is a string and our number is a number. There's no how it's going to add that. There's no how it's going to give us. They are both the same thing. One is a string and one is a number. For the string and for the number, they are not the same thing. They are two different things entirely. So we have to convert our guess to a number so that guess the number and for the number are the same thing, so that they can actually check, okay, are they both the same numbers? Do you understand?
Yeah, good.
All right. So now, if we have checked if the number is equals the secret number, so now we want to check if the guess is higher than the secret number, higher than the guess number. So let's do this. Else if um else if guess greater than the number. So if we do this, we just do the same thing we have right here. We have to change the content. So let's check this. We do this, we do guess, and we have to update this number. You say that you guessed an higher number. So let's check it out. So what do we have here? We have 3, and let's put 6. What do we have? It's telling us here that you guessed an higher number. So if we are, this is just kind of simulating some of the actions that, okay, we want to let our users know that, okay, the number you actually guessed to is higher than the number that is inside this question mark. So if let's now do something here that, okay, if the guess is equals the distance, we now do this. Let's now update the guess. Let's now update that secret number. So we now do documents dot query selector, and what are we checking for the number dot number. So we want to overwrite that question mark dot text content equals what the number. So right here. So if the number is correct, we want to actually change what we have inside this box. So we have 9 here, and let's check 9, and you can see 9 and 9. That means if our number is correct, if our guess number that, okay, we have a guess. Sorry, please, can you still hear me? Am I still communicating?
Yes, sir.
All right. So if our guess number, okay, now we have to show our, okay, they have guessed the right number. What do we want to do? We want to show them the number they guessed if it's the correct number. But if it's not the correct number, we have to do what? We just have to remove. We are not going to show them. So now let's try this again. Let's see, okay, the number there is 16 and they write 10. You can see it's not showing. So we now have to give them an hint also that, okay, let's now write an else statement, an if else statement if the number is lesser. So we have this, else if this equals guess lesser than number. So we have document of query selector. Let's just copy and paste this here so we can be fast. So we have you guessed a lesser number. So let's check it out. So they have 9, and let's do 1. Let's add 1 here. You can see it's telling the user that you guessed a lesser number. If the user goes above and writes 10, it will check you guessed an higher number. If the user now includes something like 8, you guess a lesser number. So it's telling the user, okay, you're closer. If the user now gets 9, it now does what? It now changes the get. It now says, okay, you guessed the correct number. So what do you want to happen when the user gets the correct number? You want to change the background color, and you want to change everything about the application. So now let's do this. If you guess the correct number, so we are now going to do document dot query selector dot body. No, it's just body, not dot body. BODY body dot style dot background color. So we now have it to be this. What color should someone should give me a color that once guess is correct? What
Green
should
now.
be the color?
Green.
Green. Why green?
Green symbolizes success.
Green symbolizes gold can also symbolize success. So that's on a lighter note.
We should use BG success.
BG success. How are we? Are we using Bootstrap? Who said BG success? Who said we are not using Bootstrap now? We're using our normal CSS here. So there is no how we can use BG success.
Yeah, I just guess that everybody will know that it's green. That's what I mean.
Oh, all right. Yeah, so let's check. Let's do this. Let's check it out. So we have 10. Let's see what is that. You guess a lesser number. Let's do 17. Higher number, and let's check for 15. 15. Yeah, you guess the right number. So our guess and every other thing is working perfectly well.
Sorry
Do
to
we?
ask.
Yeah.
How do you set that guess number to be 15? Sorry.
How did I? Okay. So now you can see online. You can see here on line 6. That's where we are getting our random number.
All right.
So let me close this HTML so that I can extend. Oh, sorry. So let me close this and open our index back here. So you can see on line 9, no, on line 6, I am getting random numbers. That means between 1 to 20.
Yes.
So when the user gets the right number, what did they want to do? You have to show them the right number. So I just did what? Document.query selector. I targeted the number in my HTML, which is this question mark, div of question mark. Div of question mark here. And I want to change the text content inside it, which is document. I just did the document.query selector number. That means I'm targeting that class. And I put the text content equals this number on line 6.
Yes.
So do you understand now, Dami?
I get you. I get you.
Yeah, so that's it. Does anyone have any question with that?
So the guess number is a random number.
Is a random number. Is a random number. It's the user that has to guess if the number is correct or not.
Understand.
So
Can I see the HTML, please?
HTML. All right. So this is the HTML.
Okay.
You offer. Sorry, I want to ask.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
Can you set the number to a particular number?
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah,
Is
just
it in our front end or in our JavaScript?
In the JavaScript though.
Okay. So let's do this. Let's give it 20.
Okay. Okay. Oh.
So it's a random. I want our user. I don't want it to be that we are the one giving our user a number for the application. They should be the one to check for the application. JavaScript will just keep giving us random number between 1 to 20, so our user should be able to guess if they have the right number or not.
So using the if else statements is like a clue for them.
Yes, that's it. Okay. Online 11, if they didn't input any number, it's going to throw a message and they click that button they click the check button. It's going to tell them that there is no number imputed. Now, the next if else statement we have on line 13 is that guess equals the number. That means what they guess that okay, this should be the number JavaScript is giving us. It should do what? It should tell them that you guess the correct number. And the next thing it should, if the guess number, then it should equal the number. It should display the number and the background color should turn to green. And the next one we have on line 17 is that else if guess greater than number, it should tell the user that okay, no, the guess you provided is greater than the number. Check for something lower.
In case they imputed a particular number.
Yes, that is greater than the number. Okay, now we have 20 here now. We have 20 here. And let's restart the game. We have 20 there and we put something like 80. You can see it's telling them that you guessed an higher number. And also, if they now do something lower, they do 10, you guessed a lesser number. So that is what those two if else statements is currently doing below it.
I get.
Yeah. So Francisca, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Please go to your code.
All right.
The dot message and dot number is according to the class in HTML, right?
Yes.
And then the dot text content is just saying the content.
That one is an element from JavaScript.
Okay, that's
content. It's an element from JavaScript. That if you want to overwrite a text in JavaScript, you use text content.
Okay, and this particular game, there is no way the user will know which number until they keep putting different numbers.
Yes, that is why we have you. That's why we are giving them a clue that okay, you guessed an higher number. You guessed a lesser number.
Okay, but the game itself already knows. Okay, the JavaScript that is controlling it already knows which
number. The number that is behind the scene already. That is why we are checking here that guess equals number. That means the number we have here, the guess should be equal that number. That's it.
All right, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So, does anyone have any whose hand is raised again? Ovi, go ahead.
How can we do it constraint? Can you hear me now?
Your background is noisy. I can't hear you clearly.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Hear you clearly now.
Okay, how can we do it in a way that we tell the players to maybe they have only 5 trials. After the 5th one, they didn't get it right. Game is over.
Yeah, so that is where this score comes into place. That is where this score comes into place. The users automatically have 20 scores. 20. So if they are this thing, what's the name? If they have a less number, if they have a lesser number, what do? It has to keep going down. The score has to keep going down till it gets to 0 and it tells them that the game is over. So we are going to implement, that's the next thing we are going to implement. Ovi, do you understand? That's the next thing we are going to, now that we have understood how the game works, that okay, yes, if there's a higher number, there's a lesser number, it's checking for that. So the next thing we now want to check is, if they have an higher number, what's the next thing that should happen? The score should actually be reducing. if they have a lesser number, the score should actually reduce. But if the score is, if the guess number and the number is actually the same, their score should actually remain the same. So Chinelo, go ahead. Chinelo, go
All
ahead.
right, sir. Good morning. I would
Yeah.
like to ask, let's assume that we use the first sentence, the choosing of the random number. Does
Yeah.
it mean that the programmer does not even know the correct answer to the
Yes, we don't know the correct answer.
tool?
It's JavaScript that's giving us a random number.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So now let's implement this call that, okay, once the user gets a less number, what's the next thing that should happen? The score should reduce. So for our score, we know right here in our application that from our JavaScript, from our HTML, we have the score is equal to 20. So now let's now come to our JavaScript here. Now let's return this back to random number. So this is a best case scenario where you have to use a let. So we know from our JavaScript that our score is 20. So we just have to define that number here. Let score equals 20. So now if the user's number is less than 20, is greater than the highest number, what do we want to happen? We want that, okay, score minus minus. So someone understand what score minus minus is, right? Do we understand what score minus minus is? Or I should just write it explicitly.
Yes.
Score equals score minus 1. That is what score minus minus is. Let me just write that here. Score minus minus. So let's check it out. And let's now rewrite the score to our users. So we now have document dot query selector dot what's the class name? Sorry, I'm using apply. Dot query selector. What is the class name of our score in our HTML? The class name is score. Dot score dot text content equals score. So now we have this. Let's check what we have. Let's do 10. Wow, you can see based on our what's going on here. Let me check. Oh, sorry. Thank you for I didn't spot that out. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't see that. So let's start guessing. So we have 10. You guessed a lesser number. Why is this not working? You guessed a
Sir,
lesser.
your text content, you didn't put it in a in a quotation mark stuff. So that I think so.
No.
The score.
Text content. We defined a score right here now.
Okay.
We defined a score right here. Define. Let's. I know why it's not working.
Sorry, sir.
I know you know why
Sorry,
it's not
sir.
working. Yeah.
Sir, could it not be that we ought to define it as if not, or instead of specifying if it's higher or lower?
Okay. That is why it's not working. We only defined it when the guess is high. So we also have to define it when the guess is low. So that's the next thing. I'll just copy this right here and paste it inside our code here. I'll paste it here and let's try it out again. So 10. You can see your guess is less. So we have 19. So let's do 18. Wow. Just on two guess. We guessed the right number. So let's restart the game again and see Let's do 20. Guess it's too high. If we keep clicking, it goes down, down like that. And when it gets to this, 0. So we now have to add a condition that if the score is greater than equals to 1, what does it do? The game should terminate. We should just write here that the game is over. So do we understand?
Yes.
Okay. Or does anyone have any question? So I addressed that. Do you have any question?
Yes, can you talk about that score again, sir?
The score. Okay. When the game is starting, our user has the score of our users is 20. So on every wrong guess, we want their score to keep reducing. We want their score to keep reducing. So that is what we implemented on line. That's what we implemented on line 21. That if the score, score -1, that means if their score is higher, what do? We just -1 from it. And if their score is lesser, we -1 from it and we return. That is 1 minus 20. What will it give us? 1 minus 20 will give us 19. If their score is 19, 1 minus 19 will give us what? 18. So that is what we have right there. So do you understand?
I understand now.
Okay. So any other question?
Sorry, sir. The reason why you did not put that score, the reason why you did not put that score, like the document or query selection, the score, test content score. The reason why you did not put that score, is it because of it's a
variable. We
it's
defined
a
it as a
variable?
variable on line 7. Yes.
Okay. All right. I understand.
Yeah, so Francisca, go ahead.
So I can only see else if less than for it to reduce by -1. When it's higher, where does it reduce? Or you don't need to state that.
This is it now, on line 21. There's a -1 there. This is it. Online, what I just highlighted now is saying that if the score is greater than the number, it should reduce their score by 1. If the score is lesser than the number, it should also reduce it by 1. So anytime the guess is wrong, it should reduce their score by 1.
So I don't get. You only wrote score -1. There's no like score +1.
There's no need to increase their score now. At no point should their score increase.
What if they guess correctly?
What if they guess correctly? Their score is not going to be reduced. Their score still stays the same. So that is what is now going to implement. That is now what is going to translate into their high score. So if their guess number, if okay, they just guess 2 times and at their second try, their number is correct. That is what is going to translate into their high score. And it's going to be there. So now let's implement a function. Let's write an if-else statement whereby if their score, let's do 10, if the number is 0, instead of writing a minus, a negative number here, it should tell them that the game is over. Francisca, do you understand?
Not really, sir.
Okay. What our game does here is that we are not increasing their score. Even if they get the right number that is hidden, their score is not going to increase. What do we have in? Okay, now we play, what's the name? Candy Crush. Let me use Candy Crush for example. When you miss a level in when you don't complete the task in Candy Crush for a particular level, that 5 life that they give to someone, what does it do? Once you don't complete one level, it reduces. Once you try it again and the score is not there, and you didn't complete the task for that stage, it reduces. But by the time you complete the task, it does not increase your life. It doesn't increase the life that is in Candy Crush. That means out of 5 you have used 2, it remains 3. So you carry over that 3 into the next round. So for our case here now, that score is going to translate into their I score, which is what you are going to implement as an I score feature. So there's no need for, even if they guess right, we are not increasing their score. We just leave it there as the I score. So do you understand, Francisca? And anyone that is confused with the minus or the plus. Yeah, do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. So should we go further, or I should allow you guys digest this? So I just send you the source code, so you can try to look at it and try to understand it better before we start implementing the what is the name? The I score and the reset button.
Yes, sir.
I should.
Where did you send the source code to, sir?
I'm just going to push it to Git. We're just started now. I'm just going to push it to Git, and I send the source code so you can always follow through. So should I proceed, or I should just pause? Okay. All right. No problem. So we are going to stop right here, and in the next class we are going to continue building the application. So thank you very much, and we have come to the end of the class.